wrote that particular book, because the community I grew up in, there were a lot of elders. We listened to the elders. They said, you wouldn't be so casual about that word or other words that you use if only you knew the history. I heard that all the time. Young man, if you just knew the history. But we didn't have a lot of Professor Blacks around. So they wouldn't tell us the history. But it was clearly something that we needed to explore. So what I wanted to do was simply capture that history, use the book as an argument solver. So when people begin to talk about, you know, what is the history behind the word, there it is between covers. Then make your own decision. I think we give young people the history and we get out of the way. We let them respond to it, sift through it. You know, they're entitled to their own response to it, but we do have an obligation to give it to them. But it also starts, you know, James Baldwin said real revolution begins with the self, in the self. And that's where the challenge of that kind of racism begins, on that level you're talking about, where people are surrounding you, using language, and you say, you know, you wouldn't use that language in public. The example I always use is myself in college, sitting around with a group of my best buddies. One of them said, let's go to the dorm. We had an all-female dorm on campus. Said, let's go to Allison Hall and check out some bitches. I always use this anecdote. And I said, okay, let's go. Right? There were no women around. But one guy stood up and said, wait a minute. You can't call women bitches in my presence. I'm not going to stand for that today. And he challenged all of us. And I thought I was innocent because I said, well, you know, I don't call women bitches. I don't do that. But I didn't challenge someone who did. And there were no women around for us to impress, you know, with our feminist sensibility. I'm looking around. Who's he trying to impress? You know, did a woman just come? It's just us. He's talking to us. But we had a serious argument about it, and we were so ashamed. You know, now maybe everybody wasn't converted, you know, but it was because he took that moment, devoid of an audience, mind you, to challenge us on something that we were letting go unchallenged. And again, I thought I was innocent because I've never used that word to describe women, but I let him. I just got up and got my coat. Sure, let's go. Right? I'm cool. But I wasn't, you know, so, but I benefited so much from that exchange and being challenged that more than 20 years later, I still talk about it. So it still has to begin on that individual level as well.
Cool. And some